Hiring in your business can feel really overwhelming, whether you are at the stage of your business where you have never hired before and you're looking to bring on that first hire, or you maybe hired a few times and you're looking to make your team greater and stronger and maybe grow it even more. To have a successful hire or a successful business that grows, a lot of it comes down to us as the business owner. We are the ones who are in control of whether we have a good hire, if we let go, if we are a good boss, if we do all of these things well. And this podcast episode today, I've brought on the incredible Ash Battye from Emerald HQ. And together we have a really fun, conversation around what it takes and the transformations that we need to have as business owners that are going to mean we can actually hire successfully. Successful hires that take things off our plate rather than making life more stressful, or that actually grow the business rather than stopping it because we are micromanaging or hiring the wrong people or doing this or doing that. So I'm really excited to bring you today's conversation. I know you'll get so much out of it. And so if you don't know Ash, I'm going to let you know a little bit about her now. So Ash is the head of Emerald HQ, where they support women in business to build teams that actually work, the kind where people share your values, take ownership, and grow with the business. They focus on hiring the right people the first time, HR admin that sets you up for long-term success, leadership support that helps you step out of being an employee into your role as a leader of your business. We chat about that a lot in the podcast, and defining and embedding the culture that attracts and keeps the right people. Everything Emerald HQ does is real world, people first, practical, and built for small business. Founded by Ash, who is our guest today, chief hiring nerd and hiring and leadership partner, their work combines clarity, culture, and confidence to create trusted teams and sustainable success. Ash and the team at Emerald HQ are focused on ultimately supporting women in business to build with intention a business that they actually enjoy, a life that they love, whatever success looks like for them. So I hope you're excited for this episode. Let us dive on in. Welcome, Ash, to the podcast. It is such a joy to have you here. How are you going?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm going well. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you. We've just worked out that you and I are in very similar life stages with kiddos. So I would love to hear your answer to this question. So this is the question I ask all of my guests before we dive in so that we can get a little bit of context into the workings of your life, because as businesses, we often see the pretty facades, I guess, of like, this is what I'm doing, or this is like the services I have, but we never see the behind the scenes. So I love just to ask, what does an average day in your life and business look like? Like from the moment you get up to go to bed, what are we normally seeing here? Knowing that you've probably got two different vibes here, because I know your partner works away some of the time and isn't here some of the time.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I actually talk quite a lot about, Instagram is the highlights reel, and I do try and be upfront about the chaos behind the scenes sometimes. But yeah, it is a little bit chaotic. I have two kids, so a 2-year-old and a nearly 5-year-old, and so the mornings we're out the door by 7:30, but we've already fought complaining about clothes and not eating breakfast and running around nude and the whole thing. Someone offered to babysit for me in the morning so I could go to an event, and I was like, it can't be done. It can't be done.
Impossible.
I've had to cancel an event because the morning is just chaos. We're out the door by 7:30 to take one to daycare, one to school, and back by about 9. And so I do have a second business as well in events for working women in my area. So sometimes it's straight off to an event for that, or to a co-working day or something like that. As women in business, mums in business, we get very used to our 4 walls. So I do try and get out of the house a bit. But on the days that I am working from home, it's straight into the office and straight into it, because I don't usually get in till 9, and sometimes I have meetings starting right from 9, and it's go until 9, until 2:30 when we do school pickup. But in between, it's I like to start all my days with checking in with my to-do list. I'm big on priorities, and if it's not on the list, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I love that.
And end the day with checking it off as well and prepping for the next day. But in between, it's anything from hiring support, culture support, leadership support, bunches of meetings, client meetings. I have a VA, so checking in with her. And a lot of my clients are in the eastern states. So I structure my day so that I start my day with client work and finish my day with working on my business.
Yeah.
And sort of the day goes very quickly, basically.
9 till 2:30 is not long.
No, it's not when you basically work full time and fitting it into 9 to 2:30, and then off for the school runs and the chaos until 7 when my partner gets home. Once everything is sorted, and then it's into wedding planning at the moment as well. So there's not a lot of space to breathe at the moment.
No, I bet not between two businesses and
Even.
planning a wedding.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the season of life, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's beautiful and it's lovely, but it's also sounds hectic. Oh, that's fun. Okay. So you hinted at it a little bit there, but we're going to dive a lot into, I guess, hiring as small business owners and I guess a little bit of what that looks like. And I guess the things in us that need to tweak to make that really work well, because I think most small business owners, we don't really start off as leaders and people who are ready to hire and like a lot of people do, but I know a lot of my circles of just women in business that are kind of started as a bit of a side hustle and then it kind of grew. We're not really hirers, we're kind of and leaders, we're more like doers. And so do you find there's a bit of a mindset shift that needs to happen for small business owners when they need to kind of hire their first team member?
Absolutely. And funnily enough, it's actually why I started my leadership
Mm,
community because so many people, as you say, they start their business to fit around their life, whether that's kids or other caring responsibilities or even things like travel. That's a lot more common now as well. All sorts of reasons they start this business to fit around their life, but they don't really start it with intention of what they want it to look like. And they're just sort of building as they grow, which is one of the things I'm a big fan of, is just starting and you figure it out as you go. But at some point you become disconnected from what your business is doing. And instead of being really clear on where you're going, you're sort of zigzagging all over the place and not really being the leader of your business. Your business is leading you.
mm,
So that mindset shift should actually happen before you even hire someone, is getting really clear on where your business is going. And it's as you say, it's stepping into that role of leader of your business. And it's that whole mindset shift in itself
mm,
before you bring on your first or your next team member. I can't stress enough the importance of defining your role as leader of your business. And I have a whole process I take people through with this in defining roles in their business. It's one thing I get really nerdy about is defining roles in the business before you put them out to hire. But you also have to define your own role as CEO and work out what
mm.
sits with you so you know what you can take off your plate to then hire. If you don't know what your role is, you don't know what another role is that you're going to bring into your business. So it's a mindset shift in stepping into your role of leader, but really defining what that role looks like in practice.
Yeah, I really love that and wholeheartedly agree because we often, because if we're not, yeah, doing both of those things, if we're not knowing where the business is going, then we're probably going to make the wrong hire because we're choosing something that's filling a need that probably isn't the need that needs to get filled. And then if we don't know what our role is, then we probably will have a lot of trouble, I guess, almost letting go of different tasks because we probably don't feel like, what's my place anymore if I'm just the boss now, what is my actual job? Do you find that people experience that?
Yes, yep. And some people like, we've built these businesses from the ground up. This is our baby.
That baby, yeah.
And so it's really hard to even let that go. And so sometimes even when you've brought someone on to support to do some of the task, it's the mental load to say, it's okay, I can take this hat off now. Someone else has got this.
Yeah.
I just sort of have to be across, that it's done, but not the ins and outs of how it's done or what it looks like in practice, but just that someone else has got it. Just taking that hat off to go, it's okay to let this go. That in
Mm.
itself is a massive thing that we don't know how to do because we've held on to it so tightly for so long.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, and so if we have decided we need to make a hire, or we've done a hire before and maybe we need to make another one, or we need to rehire a bad hire in the past, how do we, like, what are some kind of skills we need to have as a business owner to hire better rather than just, this is what I would do, hope for the best, and just be like, oh, let's just pop this out there and someone will come and they'll just be the perfect fit and we're all good to go.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, it's not really about particular skills You need, but a particular approach or a particular
Mm.
manner. Like, sure, it helps to have great communication skills and conversation skills to be able to go through that interview process in an authentic way. Time management skills, analytical skills, record keeping skills, all those boring things, really. These all help you to run a hiring process and get through it efficiently and effectively. But most importantly for me, when I'm teaching clients about how to do this, is that they get really clear on one key thing, and that's that their hiring process is not about them at all. It's about the candidates that they're putting the role out into the world to find.
Yeah.
And once they really believe that, because I can tell them that, but until they actually believe it, that's a whole other thing, and stop thinking that the candidates owe them something or should be grateful to just see an opportunity, then they shift into considering the candidate experience and putting those candidates first and finding the right candidate. When they do that, they then shift into thinking about properly defining the role. Again, you're going to hear me say that a bunch of times, I think, and finding the right fit for it, not just in terms of, qualifications and experience, and you need these technical skills, but who will be the best fit in aligning with the soft skills of the role, but also aligning with the vision and the culture and the values of the business to fit
Mm.
into the business long term. You're not just filling this silo gap in your business. You're wanting, especially as a small business, it's even more important
Yeah.
to find that right fit long term, and how the culture and the work environment and the business brand attracts candidates to their business and to the role. So when you define the role, when you elevate your culture, more aligned candidates apply, and it means you have a better chance of choosing the right fit from the start and
Mm.
not just picking someone and hoping for the best.
Those are some really good tips. I like that concept of putting the candidate first rather than you to. I guess that means you're going to get higher quality of person, and also probably makes you a better. It would make you a better boss. It would make you a better kind of everything in that angle. And I can totally see that point around where if we find someone who's got those right kind of soft skills rather than all the technical kind of skills, you can teach technical skills quite easily, but it's the soft skills. And I can think of people in my past where I've hired someone where they haven't had the exact same values, particularly maybe around money or generosity, and then we kind of jar very regularly, and it gets really tricky. And I can't change that about them. Whereas I've now got some people that are not that, and not only has that meant that they've been it's just really easy to work with, but it also then means that like you said, like they're not just filling that particular void. I've then moved them into other areas of the business. Oh, you're so great at this. Could you also do this thing that's now come up? Or can you change into this? And they're like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And it's meant they haven't had to just bring in a ton of different random people to fill random little needs. I can actually use the people I already have as well, which I didn't really realize that I'd done until you said that.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because when you pick people that are aligned, it's not just that they're aligned with what you're looking for in business, but you're aligned with what they're looking for in a
Mm,
role. And so when they're aligned, they're engaged and they're like, I am here to kick goals, like whatever you need, I am here. But when they don't have that alignment, I'm here to work and I'll get in and get out. But
yeah.
when they're actually aligned and engaged, your business does better.
And I think that makes sense to like, obviously, as a small business owner, I am running a business that I love. Like that's been a very intentional growth process. So if I was to hire someone that was just in the mindset of get out and do my work, I think I would find that really difficult to work with because I'm like, hold on, what do you mean you're not going to go the extra mile? What do you mean you don't want to do this? What do you mean? Like, I feel bad giving you a job now. Like, I don't want to feel bad giving you a job. You should enjoy this for the most part, obviously. So that's,
You'll have days, but
we'll have days. It's normal.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it also leads into as well, like when you run a hiring process, it's not just about the person you hire, but it's about all the people you didn't hire as well. And it leads to your business reputation and your brand in the public space.
Mm.
How you treat people in a hiring process is what they're going to tell their friends about you, whether they got the job or not. And it's again even more important for small businesses that might not get a lot of opportunities to get it right. So it's long-term brand as well.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I hadn't considered that as much. Okay. And so then a lot of particularly, I guess, okay, for me at least, and I know probably a lot of my friends running a small business, again, we don't really consider ourselves the leader or the boss. And so what do we do if we're feeling like weird about calling ourselves a boss or a CEO? A lot of women, like I've done podcast episodes on calling yourself a CEO so you can step into that leadership kind of mindset more. And a lot of people are like, I'm not the CEO. Even I say that to myself sometimes. I'm like, it's just me and a couple of people. I'm not the CEO, but you are. And so what does leading boldly look like when it's not maybe your natural strength yet?
Hmm. And funnily enough, this is something I actually relate to myself. I remember going to a workshop, and someone go, raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur. I'm like, I don't relate to that one.
Mm,
Some people, entrepreneur, boss, leader, CEO, we all had something that we're like, oh, that's not for me. And so I really struggled with this for a while until I found I was comfortable saying I lead my business. So it's just a shift. Whether I have a team or not, I am leading my business. Like my business isn't leading me, I am leading my business. And so when you approach it from that perspective, as opposed to being the boss, which can sound intimidating from both sides,
yeah.
you can consider what it means to lead your business in practice. And I do actually have a framework about creating and leading a business with intention. Um, so as we spoke about, to lead your business, you need to know where you're going. And that's not to say you have it all figured out. We're small business owners that are building it as we go, and that's okay. We're figuring it out as we go. People also get scared that that means that it's set in stone forever. We get to follow our interests and change the way we do things, but it's about considering your why you're in business, and what overarching, big outrageous thing you want to be known for, basically. Um, like you could be doing this business, or you could be doing something that's easier, or you could, get a real job. Like, why are you doing this business? It's what
Yeah.
you want to be known for and what you want to be remembered for. So you define your vision and your mission and your values and your behaviors under those values. And when you have those, you then set clear boundaries, meaning you can more easily say no to the things that don't align with that vision with less guilt as well. There's always a lot of guilt, again, particularly for women in business, around saying no or around saying yes in different circumstances. Um, and more consideration before you give the automatic yes that, again, women in business are so good at saying yes and then going, oh, what have I done? But when you say no to the things that don't align with that vision, it gives space to say yes like you mean it. You can say yes to the things that do serve you, that do light you up. And the third part being, when you're clear on where you're going and you have the boundaries that protect that vision, then you can be clearer on what you need to put in place to work towards that vision, whether that's systems and automations to streamline your business, or whether it's bringing on team members, whether that's employees or contractors, to do some of the doing. Regardless of whether you have team members, when you follow that framework, you can truly lead your business with intention. Whether you call yourself an entrepreneur, a boss, or a leader, you're leading your business. So it's just, again, a different perspective and a different mindset than putting on a label boss and getting scared by it and then not really doing anything about it. But it's thinking about what it actually means to lead your business instead.
Yeah, I love that angle. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, also don't really resonate with entrepreneur. I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm just got a graphic design business. Like, what is it?
I think of entrepreneur and I think of like, product-based businesses and people that
Yeah.
have really created a
It's something
physical
like
thing.
brand new that doesn't exist. I'm like, this is just a graphic design thing, and we're great, but not entrepreneur.
Not groundbreaking.
Exactly right. But I do also, I really loved your point of kind of knowing where you're going so that you can say intentional yeses and nos. I've just this week, I was expressing to my coach last week that I was feeling quite busy and pulled and like all these different things. And she said, okay, at the start of each week, put down your top 3 goals for that week and then your task each day to achieve those goals. And then things that come up it's kind of like you said at the start, if it's not on your to-do list, it's not, you don't see it because your to-do list is really, I'm assuming, quite curated and aligned with your goals. Therefore, when things just pop up that kind of grab our attention, or like an opportunity that sounds really great, but isn't actually aligned with this next thing you're going to sell or this next offer you're sharing or this next whatever it is, then maybe it's time to say no to that for now and not, it may come up again later when it is the right time. Maybe right now it isn't. And so it's a totally different angle, but I do love, yeah, that concept. So thank you for sharing that.
And funnily enough, my coach actually this week said she has like just a board on her Trello board that she puts these things onto. So she's giving them the space to acknowledge them, but going, they're not for right now. And
Yeah.
so there's still potential that they exist and they're not sitting in your mind going, oh, maybe I should have considered that. So you've given it the space and acknowledged it, but you've let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a good tip because sometimes you'll have a really great idea and like that's honestly that's what entrepreneurs do. If we let ourselves call ourselves that, is we have a ton of different ideas like you with your two businesses. I've had two businesses or three businesses at once before, and it's just we've got tons of ideas. We've got this and this and this. And we see someone on Instagram doing that. We're like, oh, I should try doing that too. And it's like, great, maybe not right now. Write it down in your Trello board or your assigned task, and then pin it for later and remind yourself to come back to it and see maybe now's the right time to push into that, or maybe it's not quite yet either. So, yeah, that's really great. Okay, so coming back now to this idea of leading our teams, because as we mentioned at the start, we often feel, I guess, this struggle of letting things go. And maybe we can easily err on the side of micromanaging if we're not careful, or kind of not letting our team do what they're meant to be good at. Thankfully, I've found this relatively easy because my biggest hire I made before I had a baby. And when you have a baby, you can't really do too much. Or I didn't want to. And so I had to be like, all right, here's everything. Have fun with that. And she took it and she flew and I gave her enough training and stuff accordingly. But at the same time, it meant that I didn't micromanage. And I hired her for a few months before I went on maternity leave. And I was micromanaging. I was like, oh, can you get me in on this call? Can I? And it was probably a good part of the training. I didn't just want to throw in the deep end with nothing. But at the same time, it kind of forced me to hand over the reins. So for people who don't have maybe a baby on the way to make them do that, what are some other ways that we can make sure that we do hand over things and don't micromanage our team?
Well, funnily enough, one of the examples I use of this is actually one of my clients in my leadership community who was struggling with this. She knew she needed help in her business, but she was like, I don't know how to delegate. I don't know how I'm going to be able to let go of the reins.
Mm.
She actually ended up in hospital, like in a completely unplanned, unrelated emergency, which was only a week or two after bringing on a VA to support in her business. And she had to throw that VA in the deep end and herself in the deep end of letting go to keep her business going smoothly. Like, obviously, things had to drop, but, relatively clients were kept up to date and, nothing fell apart.
Yeah.
But that led to her being more comfortable with delegating and with letting go of the reins. So, of course, I don't recommend, just planning to have a baby just to let go of the reins or ending up in a hospital as a business or a leadership strategy. But it does teach us, like we spoke about, one of the best ways to start doing something is just to start doing it. We talked about how we build this business and we sort of just start and we build it as we go and we amend it as we go. We figure it out as we go. But it's the same in leadership. Sometimes you just have to start and you're not growing if you're not pushing yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. Healthy leadership is about bringing on people who are aligned with your vision, like we spoke about, and your values and what you're building. When they're aligned, they're engaged, they're ready to kick goals for your business. So part of it is in trusting yourself that you have made a solid hire and you've picked someone that really does align with your business. And instead of then going, oh, how can I trust this person? You go, well, I trusted myself to hire this person. So I need to then, follow that trust through in trusting them. So again, just by properly defining the roles of what your role as a CEO or the leader of your business is and hiring based on the right fit for your business, you can trust yourself that you've brought on the right person for your business. And like I will say, don't get me wrong, it is a work in progress. It's not like I can just say, well, just trust yourself and you know that you've done the right thing and, just hand it over. It is a work in progress. I don't think it's ever really a finished thing. Again, this business is our baby. Sometimes we come back, we have moments of panic. We're having a quieter month or something. We're like, oh my God, I need to pull it all back in. And, I feel like it's a work in progress all the time, but it's about being clear on where you're going and clear on your boundaries and clear on your role. And when you do that, then you can more comfortably delegate and go, okay, I've trusted myself, I can trust them to do this.
Mm.
So it's just, again, a mindset shift, which I think is what a lot of leadership is
Oh,
for
a
people in
business.
business that didn't plan on starting that way. You might go into an employment role and go, my goal is to be the manager of a team of 10. Like that might be your goal. When you start a business, you don't really know where it's going to go. And so you're
Yeah.
defining it as you go. And so when it happens, we might not even be ready for it, but here we are. And so it's just figuring out how we can shift our mindset at each of those stages when it does happen.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point. It's so true of all areas of business. And I think the things that you shared there of like, yeah, trusting yourself, of like, I chose this person. And look, honestly, the best way you're going to find out if they're going to be a really great fit for the job long term is trusting yourself and trusting them to actually do the work for a little while. Because if you keep on pulling things back for them, and like, there's so much beauty. Like a mindset shift for me is almost like you don't. I'm not the best. Is probably it. Of like, if I think I'm the be all and end all of like, say for me, graphic design, then I'm never going to trust my team to do a great job at graphic design for my clients. But I have to realize like they are just as a great graphic designer as I am, sometimes actually better than me. And it's okay. Like I don't have to think that I'm the best, so therefore I have to keep my fingers over everything. And yeah,
Yeah, you want to actually hire people who are better than you,
yeah,
which is a scary thing. It's kind of a kick to the ego, isn't it? Like,
it
oh,
is.
why am I running this business when they could be doing it instead? Like it's an
Right. Like,
ego, like, oh.
I think that about my studio designer, my main one that any of my people who have worked with the studio will have interacted with her. I'm like, I have no clue why she's not running her own business and making more money than she could working with me, but she's here and I'm really grateful for it. So we're all good to go. It's very interesting. Okay. So on the flip side of that, what if we have made a bad hire and we realize that maybe something isn't right there? How can we deal with that with integrity and not kind of get sucked into either maybe guilt or people pleasing or spiraling or all of those bad things?
Well, part of me would love to say that there's no such thing as a bad hire, but I mean, it does happen from time to time. However, mentioning it, if you do the work in the beginning in defining your role, in defining and embedding your culture, in elevating that candidate experience, then the risk of a bad hire is massively reduced because you've worked hard, you put in the work to find the right fit for you and your business, not just someone who ticks boxes on paper or even someone who has a good reputation or whatever, but it doesn't mean they're the right fit for you. And so a bad hire can simply be someone who doesn't align with your business. When they don't align, they don't work as well.
Mm.
Um, and if you have done the work and something isn't right, have you considered if you are actually the problem instead?
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Now I say this because I have to confess that I have actually been the problem before. I had overseen people before, I delegated tasks, I had managed performance, I'd done all the things before, but this was sort of my first forte into really having to put my big girl pants on, basically. One of my recruitment team members came on board to support an ongoing subcontracting client. And we could just not get on the same page about this particular thing. And because my team is remote, it's sort of, all through Discord messages and trying to line up Zoom times in different time zones. And so it would have been so easy to just be like, what is your problem? Like, what are you not getting? What is going on here? And sort of approaching it from a place of blame and putting it on them. But instead, I sort of took a step back and I was like, well, we're not on the same page here. Like, what can I do? Or what is it that you need from me for us to move forward? And it's a slight language shift from blame to problem solving. I'm not big on placing blame or lingering on the problem, always looking what is the outcome we actually need and how do we get there. And we determined that this problem was all over a definition of the word client in this subcontracting, because subcontracting, it's like, well, is the person we're subcontracting to, are they the client or are their clients the client? That's all it came down to. And it changed everything. It was literally just a definition thing. And that team member is now my recruitment right hand. And, like some of your team, I'm like, I don't know what my business would look like without her. But if I had approached that conversation from a place of, what is your problem? Like, what are you not getting? Then I probably wouldn't still have her. And my business would look very different. So, it's an example of like when you've brought someone on and you're thinking, what is going on here? Like, we're not aligned. This is not working out. Like, I just need to get rid of them. Start with a conversation, a simple conversation. It could be, you're resetting expectations, whether it's checking in on what they need from you rather than what they're not delivering. Maybe they don't have the support to deliver what you need them to.
Yeah.
So life isn't a movie or a TV show where you're like screaming at the TV going, just talk to each other. Everything, this wouldn't even be a movie if you had just talked to each other in the start. It could all be solved if they just talk to each other. So a simple, casual conversation can solve a lot, and it doesn't have to come from a place of what is the problem here, but just how can I help you? In the cases where it doesn't solve it and you've determined that, okay, this really isn't the person for us, like it does happen, then you want to identify and rectify that quickly. As you say, a lot of guilt comes into it, but the longer it goes on, the less options you have under, I won't get into it massively, but, fair work and contracts and all that compliance side of things. So starting with that simple conversation as soon as you identify it, and then you can sort of work out your best way from there, hoping that it is just a simple definition language issue.
What is a client? There you go. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm my natural inclination is to look for the best in people. So that kind of sits well with me. I'm like, maybe there's just something that we're not quite seeing eye to eye on here. And yeah, can I just, that's a question I ask my team regularly. I'm not sure if I could probably word it differently, but if this idea of like, what else can I be giving you? Or like, is there something that feels unclear right now? Or is there something that's just not sitting right? Or is there something that's making your job not feel like it's good right now? And if it's something I can actually tweak on my end to make that more enjoyable for you or make more sense, then we can kind of, I guess having those conversations earlier too, like you said, means that less, hopefully longer term issues would pop up. And hopefully there's less,
Yeah, and regularly as well, like you're doing. You have, if something's not aligning, you pull that up quickly and as early as possible. And then from there, it's just check-ins. Like what do you need from me? Do you have everything you need? Because they might be sort of just coasting for a while and trying to get through it, but actually there's things bubbling beneath the surface, and then all of a sudden it comes out, but you could have stopped that a month ago just by going, hey, you good? How you going? Do you have everything you need? Is there anything you need from me? And again, that's a whole other conversation I could get into, but it's conversation. And again, especially it's so important for small business owners to just, even in, terms of remote offices and remote workforces, that virtual open door policy. That's not to say, interrupt me anytime. I'm here 24/7, but just that you can come to me with anything, and I'm here to support you to do your best work, basically.
Yeah, it's in everyone's best interest for you to let me know if something's not working right for you, and making that clear that there's that open communication. Or even like if you are going to ask them like regularly how they're going, that's almost on like a regular rhythm. So they're like, oh, I know Jackie's going to ask me next week if she can help me with anything, so I'll make sure I can tell her that then, because it's kind of coming up in the back of my mind. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, and so if someone's listening to this podcast and they're maybe haven't made their first hire yet, or they've made a few hires, but they're trying to work out how they can, I guess, create space for their business to grow, their team to grow. and work out ways that they can also protect like their time and mental load, because hiring someone isn't like a it's not like a just pop out a quick thing and then it's done. It's a deal. And so how can we do that in a way that's probably, I guess, less stressful for us as a business owner who already feels like we're carrying a lot?
So going back to again, just defining that role of being the leader of our business,
Mm,
going back and our role can change over time. So it's a regular check-in with that. It's also a regular check-in with our vision. Is that still what our vision is? And are we still on track with that? So something that when we're busy, we get really poor at is having CEO days or time to actually just check in with what our goals are and where we're going, and are we actually on track with that? What is my role in this? What goals did I even set at the start of the year? Have I even done anything about those, or did I get off
mm,
track? It's really just checking in with your business in general to know where you're going, what your role in the business is, so you can clearly see what is not your role in your business anymore. That's not to say that, sometimes we have to take those things back on, and that's okay, but internally that this shouldn't sit with me anymore. So when I have more space or finances or whatever that is, this is going to come back off my plate again. And I can be really clear and confident in my role leading my business, basically.
yeah, that's a really good call. And I guess that means that when we're thinking about maybe we need to hire someone else, but we don't have the capacity to do that, it's like, well, yeah, there's going to be probably this short-term pain in that
Mhm.
middle ground, but in probably not actually that long, once you actually bite the bullet and get the process started, you're going to have such a huge lump taken off your plate. And maybe in the meantime, are there things that have to slide? Like maybe you need to do X task a little bit less because, or maybe need to give it, if you've already got team, maybe give it one of your tasks to someone else for a little while you're doing the task of hiring to make sure like just, yeah, I think having those clear expectations and I guess reminders of this does feel hard, but it doesn't have to, it's not the reason I'm hiring is to make this actually easier in the long run to kind of coach yourself through that process, I guess. Hey.
Yeah, yeah. And it is, again, something we've spoken about in our leadership community is that tipping point of,
Mm,
know, you're trying to build up enough business to warrant a team member, but not being able to get more business without a team member. And it's sort of a vicious cycle. So where is the tipping point in that vicious cycle that you go, okay, it's time now, because we're so protective of our business, we're so tight on our finances and our budget and what that looks like. So it's going, oh, I almost have to work double time to like warrant bringing someone on into the business to let go of some of it. So it's like you're trying to work two roles to
mm,
warrant it. But it's looking at, again, what your role as CEO is and what is not yours. And it might be bringing on, like it might be looking at going, oh, I have done social media for 10 hours a week for the last month. That is too much. I can bring someone on for social media. And that's really clear. Or it might be that you bring on subcontractors to do some of your client work until that builds up and you go, okay, I can bring all of that into one employment role now because there's enough ongoing work. So it doesn't mean you have to go from zero
mm,
full-time employee from the very beginning. There's stepping stones that are really important for small business owners to consider. And hiring your first employee can sound terrifying and like it's permanent and forever, but there's so many things you can do in between, whether it's, I have done this process 10 times in the last week. How can I streamline it or automate it? So there's automation things and streamlining things you can do. There's contracting things you can bring in to fill those gaps until you go, okay, like we need someone more permanent in this role now to
yeah.
actually take ownership of this. So it doesn't have to be 0 to 100
Mm,
way, but you don't know that unless you're constantly checking in with what you have going on and where you want to be and what your role is.
yeah.
How many
Yeah.
times have I said that?
And not too many, because it's an important point. And I love all of those points. Like it's exactly how I did it. I definitely didn't start out. Like I've only just put on my first full-time employee this year. And before that, yeah, it was all contractors, and it's just so much less scary, so much easier. And you can build it up. Like a lot of my contractors don't have like a set amount of hours each week. They just work however much work I give them, and that they're fine with that. I'm fine with that. It works. It's really much less scary than putting on someone for full-time or part-time. And as to a point you said that brought up an idea in my mind of yeah, if you're doing a task for 10 hours a week, then hand that over. But you need to know what you're doing with your week to be able to do that. So if you are not knowing where all your time is going, track it. And then you'll be able to work out, oh, yeah, I'm spending X amount of time on this task. That's not really a task I need to be doing. And then just look at handing that one little task over to, even if it's a VA or someone else, to be able to do that kind of thing for you first. So that's such a good point. That's been so useful. Thank you for all of your thoughts. I would love to let the audience know how they can stay in your world, how they can connect with you and learn from you, so that this learning can keep going, if if hiring and doing this really well is something that's on someone's radar.
Absolutely. So I am Emerald HQ. So we have a leadership community that we're actually supporting women in business to step into their role as leader of their business, something that we're learning to do. It's not something we start out knowing how to do. So we do have a leadership community to support women to do that. Otherwise, you can follow me on Instagram for real life look at business and behind the scenes kid chaos from time to time, or on LinkedIn. I do a weekly LinkedIn newsletter on there about leading a business, basically.
Amazing. Thank you for that. You'll find all of those links in the description if you are looking for them. So amazing. All right. I've got a few things to think about, and I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing all of your goodness with us.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
So thank you for joining me for that episode. I hope you found it just as useful as I did. And if you are in the stages of getting ready to hire again or for the first time, I hope that gives you some really great food for thought. And don't forget, if you need some more support in this area, to hit Ash up. And if you're looking for some more support in the design and branding side of your business too, I would love to have you work with me. Just head to whitedeer.com.au to find out more. Thanks for joining, and I will see you next week for another episode. Bye.